Can you guys tell me, because my internet's been playing up, if the connection's okay? I'm just writing hello and talking. So can you see that? Is it clear? And can you hear me talking and everything? No, I put it on mute because I wanted to talk to my wife. Sorry, guys. 1 minute. Yeah, I switched it. So I have a high-tech countdown here. We're going to start in 5 minutes. And I'm going to put it on mute again. So I'll be back soon. Yeah, so I started to research like how to do live properly because I'm just doing this all on my phone with an app. So, and I found this cool stuff where I can have bring other people in, and I could have like graphics pop up and link up to my iPad and have countdown timers. Um, but that is something for the future, guys. For right now, this is our countdown timer. But I hope everyone's been okay out there. It's actually a really beautiful day here, and going live is super fun. At least it was last time. So if it wasn't for, the world falling to pieces, this would just be a really lovely day. So I just want to say hi to everyone. Lots of familiar face names and some new names too, which is cool. So really glad to see all you guys here. And this is the first one we're doing, which is like public, because we did one before, but it was just for people on the newsletter. This one is, anyone on YouTube can watch this one. So we'll see what happens if we get the usual weird comments, YouTube commenters, or it's just, legitimate life drawing fans coming. Right now my daughter's sleeping, she's napping, so it's very peaceful. But at any moment, the piece will be shattered. So don't be surprised if you hear a baby crying or just yelling. Am I doing better? Yes, thank you so much, Sylvie. I'm totally fine now, which is great. I actually never really got very, very ill. It just sounded, when you got a cold and you're kind of sneezing and coughing, especially at the moment, I don't think anyone wants to hear that kind of thing. So hi everyone. Hi Danuta, how you doing? I think I saw Floor earlier and Nancy and loads of people. Natalie, hello. So cool. Also very nerve-wracking, so many people here. It's like public speaking. But on the other hand, I'm just, sitting at home in my living room, so. Long time lurker. That's cool. That's good. Wow, you did both Februarys. That's awesome. All right. I haven't been updating this. This is the problem with this analog countdown timer. We've got 1 minute to go. Hey Bernard, how you doing? Hi Kate. Yeah, people from all over the world. I've got to do one at a different time for people in Australia. Some people said that they woke up at 2 in the morning or something last time, so. Floor says, imagine us naked. I don't, yeah, okay. That's appropriate for life drawing. All right, should we get ready to start? Have you guys got your drawing materials all ready? Maybe you could let me know in the comments like what kind of stuff you're using. I'm going to try some new stuff today. It's basically what I was thinking for today is, I don't know what made me think of this, but at some point I guess we're starting, I don't know what the difference is between what we've been doing and starting, but at some point someone did the first drawing, maybe on a cave wall. Some human with the art bug who had never even heard of the concept of drawing, let alone watched YouTube tutorials about it, just went for it with a totally adventurous spirit and drew something. And then probably like their friends and family were like, what are you doing? But they just wanted to draw so much that they went for it. So I thought we could try some new stuff today. So what I thought we could do, obviously we're going to do a warm-up. I'm going to have these poses, I'm going to try and draw them. First we're going to just try and look at like the sort of rhythm of it, and then just try and draw it, maybe give them 10 minutes each or something like that. And then what I thought we could do is one exercise with, so maybe more than 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes again like last time. Well, we'll see how much time after the first one. But we'll do this one exercise with each one. And then I thought we could do some experimentation and just try and do something with each pose that we haven't tried before. So, for a warm-up, what I thought we could do is take whatever material you're going to use today. Oh, Carbothello, very nice. Yeah, I just got some pencils in, stockpiling pencils. Charcoal pencil and newsprint, that's a good one, Kenyon. Lovely combo. This is a Pitt pastel pencil. It's a blue one. Anyway, for a warm-up, I thought we could just try and make some marks on the paper and think about what range of marks can we make. Like try and make a range of marks, maybe including some types of marks that we haven't made before. So with this pencil, the way I've got it here, I could do kind of soft, fat marks. I can do thin, hard marks by pulling it down. I could switch grip. I could do some hatching with it. I can do marks that kind of vary. I can do real light ones and real strong ones. So for this warm-up, let's just try and explore the material that we're using and think about what, even though we don't have a purpose, like we're not making marks to represent anything, what are the different types of marks that we can make with the material? Even if it's like a biro, there's different types of marks that you could make. Like you could do parallel hatching or contour hatching with it. So, every material has its own versatility. And there's someone out in the street yelling. I hope you can't hear that. And then, so what kind of marks could we make and what kind of effects? Because you know what? With drawing, one of the things I love about it is there's no rules, right? But there's effects. So there's no like right and wrong, like, oh, that's the wrong. You shouldn't make this kind of mark, right? You should make this kind of mark. But actually, this kind of mark, it's not wrong. It just has a different effect. It feels different. So, and then you just kind of use and play with the effects that you want to use for that particular drawing. So let's just try and make a variety of marks and see what kind of marks can you make. And so one thing that I've found is basically I got this compressed charcoal. It's like square. I don't know if you guys can see that well. And then it came with the charcoal pencils like in a pack, and I just put it to the side because I'm like, I don't know how to use that. I never used that. So what I thought I was going to try and do today is just for some of these experimental versions of the drawings that I was on about, I'm going to try and use this. So I want to explore what this thing can do as well as the more usual pencils that I'm used to. And I'm not saying you guys have to use these. I'm just saying whatever you guys are using, let's try and explore the marks that they make. So this can do these cool, like big rectangular marks, and it can do a kind of triangular shape mark by rotating it. I think I could even do a circle with it. And then it can do sharp marks and marks of all different things in the middle, even though it's just a block and it's not been sharpened in any kind of fancy way. So these are the two things that I want to try and use and try and experiment and explore with this, and get that original artist caveman who just tried something, just try and get into that mindset of exploring something new that's kind of unknown to me, even though I'm sure loads of people really know how to use these materials so well. Okay, so I just check in on the comments. I think I need better charcoal pencils. Mine don't seem to draw but just drag against the paper. I'm not sure which ones you're using, but one thing about them is you do have to sharpen them in a particular way so that you can use the side, because when you're just using them like a normal pencil, they're a little bit more limited. All right, so should we get cracking with the first pose, which hopefully you guys can all see on the screen. So the poses that I've chosen are, I tried to find lots of really athletic ones. And one issue is that I need copyright-free images where we can see the person's figure too. So it's like a lot of athletes and stuff and yoga people and stuff like that. So it's kind of a limited range of body types, but still one thing that's good is it's going to help us to kind of stretch out, right? Because they're stretching out so much, I think our drawings will stretch out. So for each one, what I thought we could start with is what's just the overall kind of rhythm of it? So for this one, right from her head, down her torso, and then down her leg, it kind of goes like that. And then there's this line, this kind of S-curve down her arm and through her foot down to her knee here. And then there's this leg sticking out. Something like that, maybe? There's no real right answer to that, but, whatever you want to do. It's almost like just taking notes about this, because once we start to draw it, we might get caught up in the parts and then forget the overall flow. And you can start your drawings with a big line of action and stuff. Sometimes I find that can be a little bit tricky because the original line of action is a tricky starting point sometimes, but if you have it as a sort of separate note up here, it could be quite good. And so the first thing we're going to do is just draw it. Do a quick drawing. And if that's all you want to do with it is just draw it, that's totally, obviously, completely fine. You don't have to do the rest. But what I have planned, I'll explain the exercise maybe when we get to it for this pose. But for what we're going to do for this one is just try and draw it, right, first off. Just do a quick drawing of it. We're still warming up. Like all that stuff I was doing with making marks, that's not really much of a warm-up. To be honest with you guys, I find that I'm normally warmed up after the first hour of drawing. So by the end, I think we talked about this last time, but by the end of this session, we'll all be warmed up and then we'll stop drawing. So then, you know, if you have time, why not go and do a Croquis Cafe session or something and consider this live session like a big warm-up. So just going to try and draw this, and we're just still warming up, right? So it doesn't matter what happens in the drawing. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't matter what happens in any of the drawings, as long as we have fun and relax. I mean, I think we all deserve a little bit of time to get some time away from the news and all this kind of crazy stuff and do something else. I can't get this leg right. What a cool pose, though. I wonder why. I think I didn't make this long enough, so there's no space for it. Anyway, we're just trying to get our arms moving and make marks on the paper, and it doesn't really matter what happens, right? But one thing is, you know, one cool thing about this pose is you guys know that I'm always like, don't straighten out the pose, don't lose the big curves and angles of the pose. Yeah? Now, with this kind of pose, I feel like it was going to be almost impossible to straighten this out, because you know that her head is here and her foot is on her head. So how are you going to straighten that out? You know, it's impossible, right? So that's one of the cool things about a pose like this, is it's going to make you stretch out. And, you know, even if you don't get the proportions and stuff right, you're going to need to draw the figure so that it comes all the way back with her foot being on her head. So even if you get it all wrong, you're not going to straighten it out probably, you know. I'm getting some alerts from my internet provider about connection problems, so I hope that this whole thing works out. Anyway, I'm going to check in on the comments and then I'm going to explain the next exercise. A skeleton model to study from. I'm going to get into those and explore those, maybe make a video about them, but I've never really used them before. People who are busy right now can watch it later, yes. All right, so I am going to explain the exercise, and then after that, for each pose we're going to do, just draw it, and get loosen up and get used to the pose, and then we're going to do this exercise, and then we're going to do a sort of experiment and have fun with it. So the exercise is to start from the shading. That's what I thought we could try. It's not something that I've ever really done before, but I know other people do it. So I thought, why don't we just try it? So what it means is, instead of just thinking about lines, we're going to start with shading, and then we're going to add the lines afterwards. And if you want, you can make the lines just straight or limit yourself even further. But let's see what happens if we just... And the reason that I think it's a cool exercise is, firstly, it breaks you out of an outline focus, which is, you know, is something that I give a lot of feedback on to people who do the course. Is like, it's a great drawing, but it's just a little bit outline heavy. Like just thinking about the lines, you know, outside, rather than thinking about what's happening within the outlines. And often what's happening within is super interesting and important. And I don't really know, you know, how this exercise will go, but we're doing a exploration, experimentation, and having fun with it, right? So I actually can't even remember what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. And then once you've got down some sort of shading, you're just thinking about shading, we can start to add some lines. To give it some clarity and give it some boundaries. You don't need outlines all the way around. You can just have them in a few places where you feel like you need that extra clarity. And if it doesn't work out, it really doesn't matter, because this is an unusual exercise. I don't know how many of you guys have ever done this before. I don't think I've done it much before. It's funny, but the chat always slows down a bit when the drawings start, which makes total sense. And I have to remember to keep talking. Otherwise I just get into having fun with drawing, and then I forget that there's lots of people watching. Harder than it looks, huh? Starting from the shading. I think it's a cool exercise though. I think next time I'll try and have more defined shapes as I'm shading. Although then isn't that just the same as drawing the lines? Okay, so soon we'll move on to the next one. We're just doing quick ones for all of these. But I want to see how you guys are getting on and if the exercise is making any sense. So let me know in the comments. Yeah, it's totally fine to watch me draw, no problem. Is this making sense to you guys? Let me know if the exercise is making sense. And then we'll move on to the next more experimental one. And then that's what we're going to do for each pose, maybe like 5 poses. So for the experimental one, I want to try out this new material. Oh, that's cool, sketching John. I've been looking forward to it too. Also let me know if the amount of time, I'm kind of going for 4 minutes per drawing. Like the shading first. Okay, cool. Don't worry too much about the proportions. We're just trying some stuff and still warming up, right? Didn't notice the back arm. Yeah, there's so much like energy and movement in the pose itself. This is hard. Yeah, I know, it's hard. Harder than I thought it would be. Yeah, starting with the shading, I think it's quite cool. Quite lost but cool exercise. Yeah, I feel a similar way. Okay. Alright, so the last one I wanted to do, so I'm going to use this, but you can use whatever. Oh, I haven't turned the lights on there. That's why it's a bit dark. Okay, so the last one that I thought we could do, mine looks like an abstract drawing. Well, it's funny that you say that, laugh lines, because that's what I'm thinking about for this final one, is to leave out some, to use some blocky shapes, to use some like geometric shapes, or to leave out some lines, try and get the feel of the pose. But what I'm thinking is, how about we go for something that feels a little bit abstract? Not like a fully abstract thing, like still trying to get the pose, but being okay with departing from what we're seeing to the point where if at the end of it, all you can really see is some abstract shapes, then it's okay. So I don't know how that's going to work out. And you guys can let me know at the end if you prefer more clear-cut exercises. But that's what I'm thinking. How about we go for shapes and select our lines and use big sweeping lines to capture the pose. And if it captures the pose really well, that's great. But if it just turns out like a sort of abstract shape, that's totally fine too. So that's what I'm thinking, guys. Just trying some stuff out and seeing what happens. So for me, I want to try it with this funky material, this unusual material, this compressed charcoal that I'm not used to. And the reason that I thought of it is because you know, this one makes these interesting shapes. So I'm going to try and capture this pose. Doing some funky stuff and see if it works out. Because I think we'll get real caught up in just what we always do and what we're used to. And also with just drawing as kind of, I don't know, as realistically as we can, or trying to capture a really good sense of the pose that conveys the pose really clearly. And sometimes I think it could be fun to just let go of that requirement and just put down some marks. And then when we come back to it, we might realize, you know what, we can be a little bit more adventurous with the marks and do some funky stuff that we haven't ever considered before. So it might be a good way of just exploring things, is what I'm thinking. So already I'm really liking this material. I did play around with it a little bit beforehand to kind of see what kind of stuff it could do. And, you know, I'm obviously just starting out with it, but it's quite fun because of that. That is so cool. So it's really powerful as well. Like, it just puts down so much strength of values. So that's really awesome. I think one thing that I've got to do is not put down too much. And just keep going. Not just keep going for the sake of it. I think that looks kind of cool. It's definitely better than the last thing I did, so I'm pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm checking with the comments. That's a great drawing. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'd like to see this done with pastels too. Yeah, I mean, the pencil I was using is a pastel pencil. I think I have a block, which is, you know, like one of these square blocks, which is like pastel as well. I'm drawing with scribbles. That's cool. Yeah, just do stuff like that. Let's try some different stuff. And if it turns out kind of abstract looking, that's fine. Let's just like get away from that desire to make sure it looks exactly like what we're looking at. And instead just let's put down some interesting shapes. And then even if it doesn't really work out, and you're like, I don't like the drawing, there might be one shape that you're like, you know what? That worked. Like, for me here, there's like the curve, alright, so there's like on the the shadow shapes, you know, curved on her breast, and normally I'd be really concerned about showing that curvature and all that kind of stuff. Whereas here it's just basically a rectangle, and I feel like it looks cool. So let's do the next pose. So this is the moment when I need to use this streaming software correctly and where everything could go wrong. So let's see what happens. Okay. All right. Let's see if that shows up for you guys. Julie, you're using compressed charcoal too? Pleasantly surprised. Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought it wouldn't be that great for some reason. It just looks like a, it just looks so square, but it's really cool. Okay, so is the next pose popping up? I wonder if it takes a little while for the next pose to pop up. All right, it should pop up, I hope. Oh, that's why, isn't it? No photo, oh dear. It's hip to be square. So temporarily, I put it here, which is not ideal, but you guys can see it, and then it should pop up. I don't know why. This is technological problems is my worst nightmare. I'm gonna turn this off.
Again, the light's reflected a little bit.
Yeah, I turned it off.
Okay.
This thing's going wrong. Alright, is this going to be okay? Maybe the video is the top layer. Ah, no, it's the bottom layer. How annoying. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so is this going to be alright for now at least, guys? Sorry, I know it's not ideal. You can't see it that clearly. But let's try it like this. Oops. Alright, so let's just draw this one. Okay. It's all going wrong, guys. It's all going wrong. I'm going to figure out a better setup for streaming live. Get real professional with it. Yeah. But that day is not today, unfortunately. Okay. So one thing you guys have to note about this pose is that her shoulder's raised, right? So you got one collarbone coming normally, like across here. But her whole, you remember the shoulder structure starts at the middle of the collarbones. And that shoulder is raised up. So it's pivoted up towards her head and coming up. So you kind of want to capture that in your drawing. So these pencils I really love, these pastel pencils. And I got like I don't know, like 30 of them in the post. Super exciting. I'm real paranoid at the moment, so I sprayed them all down with Dettol. But I feel like they don't break quite as easily as the Pierre Noir. You can get some funky colors, and I really like the feel of them, you know. But I got to try the Conti crayons, because I feel like if that compressed charcoal block works really nicely, then those would be really cool. So one thing that I feel like is good in this pose is it's going to be not much space to actually draw it because of the iPad, but is the shape of her legs. So there's like a sort of, it's kind of in a way. So, well, one thing is you want to get that ground plane. So you could just draw that straight across. But then there's this one shape of her legs for her thighs coming down. And then another on her shins. I won't be able to get her feet in because of the iPad. But that is a nice combo, I think, of shapes. And there's some light hitting that one thigh there. So that could look quite cool. And then there's a bit of light hitting on her forearm. And then you've got to simplify that hand just into some simple, simple shapes. Okay. Do you guys feel like you can see this reference okay? Even though it's just on my iPad? Okay, so when you guys are ready, we are going to switch over to the exercise, which is to start with the shading. So the idea being to start with the shading and then add the lines afterwards. Okay, so we'll go just with some big shaded marks. Oh, too tempting to use a line. Got to just stick with the big shaded marks. Ah, there's a line. Cheating. Come on, man. Okay, so just shaded marks to begin with. Don't worry about the lines. Think about the shapes of the dark.
The left side of your tablet's quite dark.
Right. Start with the shaded marks. I'm not going to be able to get too much of her legs in, but hopefully I can get some of that nice shape on her shins, and then start to establish the actual lines. And I think after this pose, I'm going to try and fix whatever technical problem's going on so you guys can see the references, but we'll just see it through for this pose. This is like, you know, when you stand up at work or something and you do a presentation and then the projector doesn't work. But usually it doesn't matter too much. So you start with the shading and then you add your lines after. It's a pretty cool exercise. I think I'll definitely do this one a little bit more because it makes you just think about the drawing process a little bit differently and not become quite so outline focused. really want to add on her legs. I'm going to try and keep the reference there for you guys and then add some shape very quickly for her legs. And then I'm going to attempt to fix whatever is going on here. Okay. So you guys keep drawing. I'm going to try and fix this thing. And then either I'm going to fix it, or I'm just going to upload the reference images and put the link in the description on the video, and then you guys can see the reference images that way. Okay. 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 Sorry about this, guys. The live stream thing, it just seems to be not working. So what I'm gonna do is upload all the images to a web page, and then you can see them more clearly there. Okay, so the last one with this particular pose is going to be the experimental, almost abstract version of it, which for me means using this thing, but for you can mean anything. And got to stay loose and remember that it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't look like much at the end. But just try and make some cool shapes that look funky, and then if it looks like the figure at the end, that's cool, but that's not our goal. So maybe some big geometric shapes, kind of coloring outside the lines, and just kind of see what happens with it. Oh no, that's just me drawing there like normal. Got to try and not to do that and keep it a little bit more abstract than that. Maybe little flashes of just realism in there. I think I'm definitely going to do this exercise more, where I'm trying to get some kind of abstract feel or abstract shapes into it as much as I possibly can, and then see how far I could push that, and while still coming out with something that still looks like the figure. That would be really cool. But in order to get to that, I feel like you've got to push too far, into the abstract, which isn't what I've done here really. I think I just drew it in some places, so I might try that one again. And soon the reference images should be all uploaded, so then I can give you guys a link for the next pose. So with that one, I just started drawing in the middle. I'm going to try and keep it more funky than that. So I really look forward to seeing what you guys post. You can post drawings in the community area on our website. And for some reason, this lady's bikini, I just keep drawing it, but I guess it's not such a big deal. It's kind of running out of space. This is cool. I'm definitely going to use this thing more. These kinds of blocks, because they kind of restrict you in a good way, I think. Well, at least the way I'm using it. I'm sure other people don't get restricted at all. So, oh, am I just drawing now? I think I'm just drawing now. Oops. Okay, these have uploaded. Draw together too. Okay, so in a second, it should be if you go to lovelifedrawing.com/drawtogether2, you should see all these images. So I'll put that in the description of this video. We'll try and do 2 more drawings today. So I definitely want you guys to have the references properly. Okay, let me find this. Okay. Sorry about the technical glitches, guys. And I'll put it in the chat. Okay. So, if you guys go to that link, you should be able to find the reference images. And we'll try and do 2 more. So we'll try and do the 3rd one right now. And I'll still show it on the side of the screen. But it's better if you can bring it up somehow, like on another window or something, and then draw the actual reference. Because I think it seems to be a little bit dark for some reason. Okay. So Ramzan, for the community area on that website, lovelifedrawing.com, there's a link in the top called community, and you can sign up there. Okay, you got them. Thanks. That's cool. Okay, there's always a solution, right, guys? So let's draw this pose. This is really hard to see because there's a camera right here, and then now the reference is here. But anyway, okay. So try and draw this guy. You know what? Every cloud has a silver lining, and I hope it doesn't sound too silly to say that, but I would never have tried to figure out live if it wasn't for this crazy situation. I'm really glad that I am doing it, even though there's some problems sometimes, like today, because I don't know. I think it's really good. It's good for mindset practice for me. Obviously, it's super fun to draw with everyone, but even just for myself, to kind of draw while talking, draw while thinking about other things, and draw with, Because like for me, public speaking itself is quite nerve-wracking. And then public speaking while drawing is a little bit nerve-wracking too. Because I'm trying to kind of do two things at once. And then there's the technical side of it. And like anytime you have something that kind of makes you a bit nervous, you should do it, right? You should do more of it until you get good at it. So I'm real determined to get good at this whole live thing. Also really determined to explore this thing more, because it's been really exciting and really fun. So the first version of the drawing with each pose is just to draw the pose. And then we'll do the shading first version, and then we'll try and do a sort of abstract, not abstract, but like not being too concerned and trying to use funky shapes version. And I think my last one was just a little bit too much like a normal drawing. So I'm going to try and get a little bit more funky with it, and the next one we'll see. Okay, so you got to draw it. Is everyone doing all right? Let me know in the comments. How many figures are there going to be? There were going to be 5, but because we had some glitches, I think we're going to do 4 probably. Cool. Scott, you can't get the link to come up. It should be in the description of the video, or just go to lovelifedrawing.com/drawtogether2, the number 2. Is that working? You guys got them, yeah? I'll put the link in here again in the chat. Are you hacker? Nope. If I was a hacker, I would have got this whole thing to work properly. Okay. Next one. We're going to do it shading first. Shading is crazy on this one. Yeah, this guy is posing in midair, so he's got a lot of swagger. Okay, so the most kind of obvious shadow shape is this one. Don't overcomplicate your shadow shapes. They don't need to say everything that's happening in the figure. They just need to say some big simple things. Sometimes I think you could even imagine like, what's this shadow shape saying like in a sentence? Wait, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be just shading. I'm just drawing. I've got to just shading first. That's the exercise, right? Guys, do as I say, not as I do. So, yeah, when you're putting down a line or something, you could think like, what is this line saying? And it needs to be really simple. So if your line is saying 5 million things at once, and your sentence, if it was gonna, like this line here is like, well, the arm is curving a little bit like that, and it goes this far, and that's pretty much all it's, and it's kind of on this angle or something. Like, it's not trying to say millions and millions of things. So like here, if you look on his abs, look how much zigzagging and craziness there is. But I feel like if you try to get every single one in there, it could get a bit overcomplicated. That line could be a little bit complicated. So do you really need all of that? I mean, it depends on what kind of drawing you're going for, but we're just doing quick sketches, just having fun. I feel like the lines don't need to say too much. So like, what's the sentence? And is it a nice, concise, clear sentence? Okay. One nice thing that I always like in the forearms, see that? It's got a little bit of an outward curve on it. So, that is really cool. You always want to capture that, I think. Alright. Wait, I've forgotten the exercise. Oh man. Shading. Just shading. Alright, I've totally cheated on this one, but hopefully you guys haven't. I've just been drawing It should be shading first, guys. Getting all messages on my phone distracting me from what I really need to be doing. My phone telling me about my internet connection and stuff. Okay. Hopefully you guys did it shading first, and then I'm going to switch over to this funky new material. Just check in on the comments. Sarah, you need a bit more time. No worries, you've got the references there. So if you want to take more time, that's totally cool. I think you can also pause the live stream too. All right, so let's go for it again. And I don't know what we can do to try and do something more kind of funky and cool, but let's try something. So remember, guys, afterwards you can post your drawings on the community area of our website. It'd be really cool to see what you guys come up with these references. And my daughter's woken up. It sounds like she's a bit startled. Fair enough. Okay. Oops. This hand is, it's so complicated with all this. Usually your hand makes some simple planes or some simple shapes. This one, his fingers are all splayed slightly differently. And you could either, I feel like you could either make that the focal point of the whole drawing, you know, if you really get, because it's so much detail and detail attracts the eye. It's either going to be the focal point of the whole drawing, or just simplify it away into a bigger, simpler shape, which is probably what I'm going to do, because I don't think it's cool enough to be something I want to spend tons of time on. So then just kind of get rid of it as a big, simple shape. Okay, kind of going off the screen here. I feel like I'm being just a little bit conservative with these. The whole point of the final drawing is to get kind of funky and crazy with it. And I am using big marks like that, at least initially. But I wonder if you guys are coming up with something more wild and funky and abstract than me, because the rest of it's just ending up kind of like a drawing. So I really want to see what you guys come up with. If you hear a toddler yelling and you have kids, it's mine, not yours. Okay. Anyway, how you guys doing? I'm going to check in on the comments. This is a block of compressed charcoal. Came with some, I normally like to use charcoal pencils, and this came with those. And I really like it. Will this be available on the channel later? It will definitely be available on this link. Because of the technical problems, I'm not sure I'll leave it up on the channel or not. But if you keep this link, it should still be there. You really like Lane Brown, don't you? Yes, I really do like Lane Brown. My drawings are just messy. That's good. That's what the exercise is about. Just trying to explore stuff and see what happens. Yeah, sorry, Thomas. It's normally the reference should show up real nice and clear here, but something's up with my streaming app, so it didn't work out. I'm going to invest in some better equipment for the next one. The exercise in shapes. Okay, should we go for the next pose? We'll make this one the final pose. That's what it looks like, and you can see it on that link that I sent you guys. So we'll just do a quick drawing of it first. Just got here. No worries, Mary. This should all be recorded, and you can go back to the beginning later on. Alright, should we go for it with this one? You guys all ready? Can you see the whole thing there? Okay, let's go for it. These people are super flexible. This is another one where you're not going to be able to straighten this pose out. So that tendency, which we all have, to try and straighten poses out, it's going to be hard to do here. Because you know that her hand needs to touch the floor, and you know that her other hand needs to hold her foot. So it's just the pose, she's stretching out so much that it's going to force us to stretch out, hopefully, right? One thing that, you know, because we're drawing clothed people here, but they just have kind of skin tight clothes, and I really like that actually, because they provide some nice wrapping lines or cross contour lines, like that line around the top of her stretchy trousers, whatever they are. That shows the form, right? It shows the 3D form to us. It's like the cross contour lines that we made a video about for February, but you can just see it in the clothes. And similarly, even these lines coming around her whole shoulder there, it just helps you to see the volume and see the form and all that kind of stuff. So next one will be to try and draw it shading first. So we got to shade first, right? This time I really got to do it. Putting down the shapes of the dark. Even though it might be wrong, and later on our lines might not even conform to the shading that we've put down initially, but it doesn't really matter, you know, if the shading's a little bit wonky relative to the actual lines, because probably the figure's gonna be put, like, you're gonna probably establish the figure better when you're doing lines rather than just doing just trying to see shapes and shading those shapes. But I think it doesn't matter, you know, if the shading kind of comes out of the lines, that could look cool. So, man, it's hard to draw with this. No space. All right. Going for some lines. Try and use lots of straight lines. So yeah, those shaded shapes, definitely not quite in the right places, but it doesn't really matter. Try and get some kind of line across the floor, like a ground plane going. And then gonna go for the compressed charcoal attempt. Thanks, German. I'm not sure how good the problem solving is, but we're doing something. Yeah, we'll do another one, definitely. Okay, so next up, we'll just try and do something more funky. And again, I feel like, you know what? I'm just struggling to let go of just trying to draw the person. And what I really wanted to do was not be so concerned with that and just try and put down big shapes, like a pattern of shapes. But so far I've definitely got caught up in trying to capture the figure kind of in the normal way as well. So, I mean, I kind of want it to look like the figure at the end, but it doesn't have to. And more important is for it to is for it to kind of be a departure from the normal way of drawing. That's the main thing, because I've definitely got a sort of comfort zone, and you know, you don't grow as quickly when you stay in there, right? So any exercise to push out of that is going to be good. And I mean, to be fair, like, this is well different to how I would normally draw, so that is outside the comfort zone. But I feel like once I'm getting to this stage here, I just start trying to draw the figure. So I wonder if I can try and use fewer marks, explain less, and just not be quite so concerned about making sure that the viewer gets it, right? And not being, you know, it's like in a movie, some movies will just, they'll have like, you know, those scenes in a movie where they just get some character to just explain the plot to you, and they just kind of summarize everything in case you haven't understood what's going on, or you know, you need to explain some information to the viewer. And those scenes in those movies, they don't feel right. They don't feel natural, and they feel a bit clunky. And I guess some of these lines are there that are kind of like that. They're just explaining too much, knocking people over the head with the information instead of letting them work it out themselves. So that's kind of what I had in mind for this exercise. Although I think I've maybe gone for too much there. But anyway, I hope that makes some sense. Super cool pose. I definitely want to draw some of these poses again. Okay, I'm going to check in on the chat. Did I ever take drawing classes, or was I self-taught? I go to life drawing classes, and then my mum has been teaching me, and then some of the classes are taught, so just a mixture of taught and self-taught. This yeah, that one was cool. That's the kind of stuff that I'm going for, is like funky marks with this thing. So this pose is so hard. Yeah, it's unusual. It's definitely unusual, but it has a lot of energy on it, right? So you're not going to end up with a stiff drawing, even if you feel a little bit stiff. I like to smudge the charcoal and take out the highlights with a kneaded eraser. That is a great approach. The teacher of our life drawing class we normally go to, Frank, that's what he does, and it's a great effect. What is the difference that makes it abstract? You know what, Karim? I don't think I demonstrated that exactly the way I wanted. Maybe I'll do it again in another live, having practiced it more, so I can show you better what I had in mind. But I guess it's like, you know, instead of really fleshing out and drawing that arm, capturing that arm with these kind of simple geometric shapes. That is kind of what I'm thinking. Okay. I have to go now, but this has been a revelation. Oh, good. I thought this was kind of slightly disastrous with the technological problems, so I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, I definitely will do more like this. Don't worry. I'm gonna try and invest in some live streaming equipment rather than just trying to do it on my phone. How are the rest of you guys doing? Love the expression of her right arm going down to the floor. Yeah, I don't know if you mean in this, the one that I tried, but for me, I really like this arm. And it's like, I feel like if you do these kinds of drawings, you've got to accept that it might not work. But hopefully you're going to find one shape or one thing that you were like, that looked cool. And then and who cares about how everything went, because you can take that forward and that's a real game, you know? Yeah, the upper arm slightly bent. There's a lot of, even in just a straight arm, I feel like there's a lot of flow and movement, and it's something you can try and exaggerate and bring out. I love the experimental part. Oh, that's cool. I was a little bit concerned that it wouldn't make any sense or wouldn't be that fun. Is it normal to get stuck with detailing in the beginning from Varun? Yes, Varun. It is so normal. And even like professional artists who I've talked to will struggle with it and need that discipline to stay simple early on. Is there a Discord server? No, sorry. Partly because I don't know what a Discord server is, but people have asked me to make one a few times. This has been fantastic. Oh, cool. Look forward to the next one. That is great. In my mind, I was already putting this down as a disaster, so that's cool. Donations for new equipment. Thank you, Margaret. I think when I say new equipment, I think the thing I need is the software. I think that's the main thing. And so that's not that much. That's just, I think it's like $10 a month or something. Yeah, it's a hard habit to shake. Is that the getting into details early? That's one of the things I wanted to get away from with this one by doing this shading first exercise. Hey Neil, thanks. Thanks, Jack. That's very kind of you to say. Hey George, had a lot of fun. That's awesome. Not a disaster. Oh, good. Well, thank you for the hearts, Pascal. I appreciate it. Thanks, Natalie. Ramzan, mine is not good at all. I'm sure that there's something in there, Ramzan, that you can take forward. And every drawing you do is going to teach you something, right? You could try OBS. I'm using Streamlabs OBS app, Andre. Hey Alex, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hey, my daughter. Really fun, even with the technical issues. Okay, the whole family is now in full effect. Great new exercises. Yes, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for being so forgiving of the technical stuff. I think I got a little bit flustered with it in the middle, to be honest. So it's good to know that you guys are so forgiving of these things.
Maggie.
There's Maggie going off, thinking she's a guard dog. Thanks, Sylvie. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. Yes, you hear a toddler, that's right. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm definitely going to do more. So I think I'll do one. Maybe I'll email out the next one and put up a link, but it might be on Monday, and I'll try and do it in the evening UK time so that it will be the morning in Australia, because I feel like I'm letting those guys down a little bit with this time. So try and do that, and that should be a good time in the US too, because it should be like in the afternoon or something. So maybe Monday evening we can do another one. I might have to talk quietly so I don't wake up the baby. But I will try and fix whatever technical problem we had today.
Should we give it some water?
Hey Lewis, yeah, there's a link in the description with all the references.
Do you want to give them some water? Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. Hey PK, it's nice to see you here.
you need to sit
Thanks
in your
everyone.
seat.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, okay. Let's get your seat.
Alright guys, I'm going to turn it off for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and
Need your seat.
I guess I'll see you on the next one.
You might need a hand.